So moving on, we have ShadowCraft. So we'll start off with the legendaries. 7 cost 5/6, kind of slightly understated. Demon Lord Ekta. Okay, his skill is Necromancy 3, summon a zombie, which is a 2/2, and repeat for remaining shadows or until your area is full. Then give all other allied followers +0/+2 and rush until the end of the turn. This is a extremely strong card. I don't know what to say, it's just an extremely strong card. Let's analyze this. So first we have Necromancy 3, summon a zombie. So assuming you have an empty board, you will need at least Necromancy 12 to summon a full board. Necromancy 12 is kind of high for ShadowCraft, but it's doable. On average, maybe they'll have 6 shadows, so you at least summon 2 other zombies, which is 4 more stats. And then give all other allied followers, not just zombies, all other allied followers, +0/+2 and rush until end of turn. Which means, if you already have a board full of followers, you can simply buff all of them by 2 attack. So he can work as a push for damage, or as a or to fight for board. Because if you are behind, you can use his skill, summon a bunch of zombies, and then they become 4/2 with rush and just clear the board, so you are now in control. Or you can use his skill as a push for push for damage, and you simply buff everything already existent on your board by 2 damage, and then just hit face and deal tons of damage. So he is a extremely useful card, not just to mention this, but also he summons zombies, and zombies can also synergize well with things like Death's Breath, because a lot of people don't realize, but Death's Breath's skill, it first summons the 3 zombies, then Necromancy 6, it gives all zombies +1 health and ward. Doesn't have to be the zombies the Death's Breath summon, just all zombies on the field, +1 and ward, +1 health and +ward. So his skill really not only synergizes well with some cards, it also does it's just a very good card, both for tempo and for damage. So I think ShadowCraft really got an upgrade with this card. Moving on, we have the next legendary, a 4 cost 3/4. It's not bad stat wise. Mineth of the Underworld. Fanfare, your necromancy effect costs 0 shadows until this follower leaves the area. So, as I said just now, we have a card. It's so strong, but its necromancy cost is quite high because you need necromancy 3 for each zombie. So, what do? You add in a card that just ignores the necromancy effect. So you can simply play unlimited things with necromancy. So, your Death's Breath can now activate its secondary skill for free. Your Demon Lord can activate his skill for free, and every single necromancy effect can now activate its skill for free shadows. So yes, undoubtedly a very strong card for ShadowCraft. Yeah, there's nothing much to say. Every single ShadowCraft deck can and probably will run this, maybe except aggro, but I think everything else, every single other ShadowCraft deck will and probably should run this. Moving on, a 7 cost 4/5, kind of weak on stats. Fanfare, summon 2 whites. So in case anybody doesn't know what a white is, it's a 1/3 follower, 2 cost 1/3 that has the skill every single time a allied follower is destroyed, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. So it's kind of like what's that card called? Levin Duke, the Bloodcraft follower, just that instead of when followers are summoned, it's when your followers are destroyed, which ShadowCraft does destroy a bit of its own followers, so it synergizes quite well. And it has last words, put a white king into your hand and change its cost to 0. So it generates quite a bit of resources, no doubt, because 2 whites is 1/3 each, so 2/6, which means he's 6/11 for 7, that's not bad, 611. Not only that, after he dies, he puts a white king into your hand and changes his cost to 0, which means a white king is 4-4, I think. 4-4, so he'll become 10-15. And I believe the white king skill is at the end, when it dies, it summons another 2-2 or something, so it's plus another 2-2. So for 7 costs, the amount of stats he generates is incredible. So I think he'll be more of a late game card, which will just be played if you need a lot of resources, and he will last on the board for a very long time. So like, he will not last on the board for a very long time, but his the amount of stats he puts on the board will last for a very long time. The whites can get annoying as well because they can push damage to their opponent's face indirectly. So it's a pretty good card. Little bit on the high cost end, but still I think I would run 2 copies of him per deck, or maybe even 3. So next we have a 4 cost amulet, Death's Ledger. Countdown 2, at the end of your turn, put a random ShadowCraft follower that costs less than your total number of play points from your deck into play. Then destroy that follower. What does that mean? Okay. So, at the end of your turn, put a random ShadowCraft follower that costs less than your total number of play points from your deck into play. Simply that means if you have 5 play points at the end of your turn, they will put a 5 or below, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so 5 cost or below, follower from your deck into the field and destroy it. If you have 20 play points, as impossible as that is, then this card will put a 20 play point or less follower in from the deck onto the field and destroy it. So this will probably play towards the last words, ShadowCraft. Basically, you have things like your Mordecai the Duelist that you want to search out. You have things like your what's it called? Lurching Corpse that can help you remove a enemy follower. A lot of last words cards that you won't mind pulling out of your deck. So generally this card, I think the later it's played, oh, you can highlight that, huh? The later it's played, the better, because the later it's played, the more high cost things it can pull out of your deck for you. So generally I think the most wanted thing you want it to pull out is Mordecai the Duelist, or maybe even the Underworld Watchman Koi, because that one, his skill is really annoying. So yes, it's a very strong card, and I think it's really meant for the late game. I mean, it can be played for the early game as well, because you can just search out Lurching Corpses just to keep the field empty at the end of your turn. And it does specify a random ShadowCraft follower, so your neutral followers won't be killed from this effect. Moving on, we have another 2 cost 2/2, the average, Little Soul Squasher. What a cute name. Necromancy 4, destroy an evolved enemy follower. So I think this will just be a generic 2/2 that will actually be played quite a bit, simply because the current 2/2s ShadowCraft has is the most generic one will be Spartoy Sergeant, followed by what's else? Lurching Corpses. So they introduce another 2/2 here, Necromancy 4, destroy an enemy evolved enemy follower. So generally I think her skill, her stat wise, she's already generic 2/2, so that's already quite good. Her Necromancy 4, destroy an evolved enemy follower, it's quite interesting simply because instead of just destroying anything, there's a requirement, it must be an enemy follower. But then if you do activate her skill, you're destroying an enemy follower that is evolved for basically nothing except shadows. And if you combo it with the legendary skill, you get to destroy it for free. You see what I mean? That's why that legendary is good, and this card will probably be run quite a bit as well, because you can get her skill off potentially for free and destroy an evolved enemy follower. So it's a pretty good card. I think it will be run quite a bit along with the legendary. Moving on, we have Dolor Blade Warrior, a 5 cost 4/5, not bad stat wise. His skill, Fanfare, destroy an allied enemy for let me repeat that. Fanfare, destroy an allied follower and give this follower +2/+2. Doesn't activate if there are no other allied followers in play. So basically he destroys something on your field and then he gives himself +2/+2. It's generally just a good card for fighting for the board, and his skill does synergize well because ShadowCraft has a lot of last word followers, lurching corpses, attendant of the night, blah blah, you can name it. Things that have last words that want to be triggered, so you can just play him, destroy them, have their skills activate, destroy something from the enemy side, summon a lich, I don't know, and he himself gains benefit of 2/2 stats. So yeah, it's generally a good card to be played in most ShadowCraft decks, and he'll become a 6/7 for 5 cost, which is pretty good. Pretty good. Why did I cancel out? I do not know. So next we have 4 cost 1/2, once again a very weak stat minion. Her skill is Fanfare, deal 2 damage to a random enemy follower, then give +2/+0 to random allied follower. So if we analyze this, deal 2 damage to a random enemy follower, so just deal 2 damage, and then give +2 attack to a random allied follower. So assuming she's the only follower on board, she'll be a 3/2 with Fanfare, deal 2 damage to a random enemy follower. It's not bad, but I'm not sure how she will be played. I'm thinking probably more of a aggressive card because then there isn't much synergy with ShadowCraft cards like the last words or anything else. So I'm thinking it's more of a aggressive ShadowCraft card. Deal 2 damage to clear off something from your enemy side, then +2 attack to something to deal more damage, I guess. So yeah, she's kind of on the expensive side in 4 costs, but she does remove something and does buff something's attack, so I guess it's alright. Next we have a 3 cost 1/1 Prince Catacomb. His Fanfare, give all allied followers last words, summon a skeleton. A skeleton is 1/1, which it's not bad, I guess. The interesting thing is, I don't think you will play this card in a late game or mid-range deck. I think you would play this card in a early game aggressive deck, simply because you play him, assuming you have a board full of small followers of 1 attack, 2 attack, 3 attack. You buff all of them with this skill, last word summon a skeleton. Even after your opponent has used a removal spell, you still have a board left full of skeletons to deal more damage. So I think it's a very good skill for an early game deck. I'm not sure how well it worked out in a late game deck, but I think it worked better in early game just to make the board slightly stickier. Moving on, we have a few more cards to go. Grave Desecration, a 2 cost amulet. At the end of your opponent's turn, use Necromancy 4, summon a zombie. So once again, this synergizes along with the legendary as well. So if by somehow after your opponent's turn your legendary is still alive, you can summon a zombie for free. And once again, since it summons a zombie, it synergizes well with zombie effect cards like the Death's Breath, whatnot. But generally, I don't think this card will be played a lot. Simply is the reason is this card is got to use your shadows very quickly. Like every single time you have Necromancy 4, you just summon a zombie, and sometimes there are things you want to save your shadows up for, but this card will just eat through them like nothing, and you might not be able to activate all your shadow necromancy effects. So I think this can be a double-edged sword. It can be good in it puts a lot of stats on the board, but it also can be bad as it might waste a lot of your resources in terms of shadows. So not sure how I feel about this yet, but I think it might be a little bit risky to play this card. Following that, we have Ebon Reaper, a 6 cost 3/6. Okay, it's kind of bad stat wise, but it has a skill of Bane, which is pretty good. Anything that has Bane right now is pretty good. And last words, give Bane to a random ally follower. So basically it just sets up your board for force removal, which is actually kind of good, because right now there are a few cards which really could kill a lot of people. I won't reveal them yet, but you'll see. So Bane, yeah, Bane is just a good mechanic right now, because as the game progresses more into the late game, you will need much more better removal for much bigger followers. You can take a look at all the tanky legendaries, say RuneCraft's the Giant, the Hulking Giant. It's gotta be 14/14 or something insane. So Bane right now is generally quite a good mechanic to have a few of. So he's generally a good card. The only downside of him is he's quite high cost, but other than that, I think everything else for his skill justifies his cost. So next we have Goblin Zombie. That art, I don't really, yeah. So it's a 3-cost 2/3. Okay, not bad. At the end of your turn, use Necromancy 4, gain +2/+2. So once again, since it's at the end of your turn, if you couple it with the legendary, you get a free +2/+2, and also it just fights for board better because it has more stats. I think if you play this card early in the game and already have you are able to proc his skill off, I think you'll be a very strong play. Imagine you start first, by some miracle on turn 3 you already get to 4 shadows. You play him, on turn 3 you'll be playing a 4/5. Your opponent is still probably stuck at a 2/3 or a 3/2 at best. You get a hit on the board quite a bit stat wise. But of course it's not very usual that you get Necromancy 4 on turn 3, but you can try. So yeah, he's an okay card I guess, but I'm not sure how often you would use his skill or how often you will want to use his skill. So I'll just leave his judgment as I'm not sure. So next we have a 2-cost spell, Zombie Party. So his skill is deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. Okay, so it's simply the generic 2-cost deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. Then enhance 7, summon 3 zombies, which is not bad I guess. It puts 6/6 of stats on your board for 7 costs and then deals 3 damage to enemy follower. Also synergizes well with Death's Breath. So it's kind of like a cheaper version of Death's Breath, because Death's Breath is golden, this is bronze. But the thing about Death's Breath is it has ward, this one is just 3 zombies. So it's good, but I'm not sure how practical it would be. It just fills your board up with zombies, and unlike Death's Breath, it doesn't protect your life, it just fills the board up with zombies. That's it. So yeah, last we have the 1-cost 1/1 Dead Moon Disciple. Her skill, Fanfare, give an allied follower the ability to ignore ward. So there was a card like this before. It was a spell, I think it was 4 cost or 3 cost, something called Spectral Form. So it was a ShadowCraft card as well. Basically it gave a follower the ability to ignore ward and some like 2 more attack or something. I saw it being played once or twice in Deadly Tyrant decks, but not really that often, because like not a lot of people play Deadly Tyrant as a deck. So right now with this, since it's actually a follower, I think it could be useful in some more late game decks, because there can be times the opponent just sets up enormous wards and then you just need that 1 or 2 damage to go through. You play her, you give something to ignore ward, and you just finish the game. So I think she's definitely a valuable card to have in the deck, and she'll be quite useful as well. She can be even used for like aggressive decks as well. You have your Shadow, I think it's called Shadow Reaper. A 5/5 Shadow Reaper that gets cucked by a single ward. You just play her, ignore the ward, and go straight to face. So that will do it for ShadowCraft.